everyone, it's Delaina here with the Georgian Bay Biosphere Reserve. It is now mid-growing season. The gardens are looking very lush and green. We wanted to share a few quick little tips and tricks to help you with your summer garden maintenance. Alright, let's talk about tomatoes. Now you might have heard the term tomato sucker before. What does that mean? Does it mean you're a sucker for tomatoes? Well, yes, but it also refers to a little shoot that comes out of the tomato plant where the base of the leaf meets the stem. If left alone, this tomato sucker will actually develop into a whole branch itself, which can create a rather bushy and kind of sprawling tomato plant. A lot of gardeners will choose to remove the suckers when they're still small. By doing that, the theory is you're telling the tomato plant to put more energy into growing fruit rather than growing more branches and more suckers. Now, not all gardeners do this. There is some debate about whether it significantly helps your plant or if the wound creates an opportunity for disease to enter. So really, either way, you will get tomatoes, and it comes down to a personal choice. Now, if you're growing potatoes this summer, like these ones that are behind me, you might consider doing what's called hilling the potatoes or mounding them up. When the plant is at least 6 to 8 inches tall, take the soil around the base of the plant and put it in a little pile around the stem. You can keep doing this as the plant grows every 6 to 8 inches, mound it again and again until that pile of soil around the stem is actually 12 to 18 inches tall. What this is going to do is protect the potatoes that are at the surface from the rays of the sun, which turn them green and make them a lot less tasty. And it's also going to help the potato plant stand up. Maybe. Now, it isn't necessary to hill. Some people prefer to use straw instead to protect the potatoes from the sun rays, or you can simply keep covering it with a little bit of soil as you see the potatoes poking through. The option is yours. Are you eating your squash flowers? Any variety of squash that you might be growing is going to be producing both male and female squash flowers. Now, the male flowers you can tell because they have these long stalks, at least 2 inches or more, that tend to be quite narrow. The female flowers, they don't have the long stalks. They have what look like miniature versions of the fruit. This is the ovary that will one day become the squash you plan to eat. Now, both the male and the female flowers are edible, but be sure to leave enough female flowers on the plant so that you still get a squash harvest. This is also true for any type of squash that you've got. If it's a summer squash, which is soft-skinned squashes like this zucchini, or a winter squash, something with a hard skin that keeps, like a butternut, you can eat both of them. You can eat the flowers raw, you can stuff them with cheese and bake them, you could batter them and deep fry them, add them to fritters, quesadillas. There's tons of different options. So at the end of June or early July, it's going to be time to harvest your garlic scapes on varieties of hardneck garlic, which is the most common type of garlic we plant. Now, these are garlic plants, and this is the scape. After the plant has developed the stem and the leaves, the next thing it's going to want to do is flower, and this is where the flower would appear. So by harvesting the scape, or cutting it off, what you're saying to the plant is don't put energy into a flower, put more energy into the bulb instead. So by harvesting your scape, you'll get bigger garlic bulbs. The nice thing about harvesting scapes too is the whole scape, this whole portion, is edible. And there's tons of different ways you can use them. There's countless recipes online for pestos and purees. To harvest your scape, all you're going to want to do is take some of your kitchen scissors and cut it as close to the bottom as you can without cutting any of the leaves off. And that's it. This is your garlic scape to now use in your kitchen. Now, at this point, you've probably weeded your garden once, twice, 3 times, probably a lot more. I can guarantee that something that you pulled out of your garden was actually edible. Dandelions, purslane, lamb's quarters, plantain, and clover are all things that are very commonly pulled as weeds out of our gardens, but are in fact actually edible. So do a little bit of research, make sure you're totally confident in what you're eating, and start by eating just small amounts of these things. You might notice that most of them do actually have a bit of a bitter taste. That is because they are very densely nutrient packed. So enjoy them. And of course, eat what you grow. Pick your garden clean. Remove all of the fruits as soon as they are ready. Leaving them to over mature will actually slow your plant's production down. And try eating some of the other plant parts, such as the beet greens.
You can even make a pesto or sauteed greens from radish leaves.
If you're making room in your garden as you harvest, you could maybe think about a fall garden crop from some faster growing plant varieties that are also a little cold hardy. Things like lettuce, spinach, carrots, onions, turnips. These things can be planted in mid-August or so for a secondary harvest in the fall. Now, our earliest frost date might be something like September 8th. However, we're more likely to see later and later frost dates into the end of September and maybe even early October. So, working backwards for something that's ready in 60 days or less, that gives us lots of time for a secondary crop. Thank you everyone for watching and for joining me once again in the garden. I hope that you found this midsummer video helpful. As always, you can find more information about these topics and lots of others on our website, gbbr.ca/gardens. On that page, you'll find a downloadable version of this seed to soil growing guide, full of tips and tricks and information about gardening in the biosphere, downloadable for free to your laptop. Thanks again, and happy gardening.